the first thing that we usually think about when it's metabolism is like, my metabolism is going slower, I'm gaining weight, everything's sluggish. But metabolism is more than that. So maybe let's define what you mean when you say metabolism.
Yeah, you're right. People think about, all right, metabolism is just literally how much energy am I burning, right? Am I going to gain weight or not gain weight? And that's the whole story. When I think about metabolism, I think about one, that it's the key to your health. So people actually now think that metabolism is the thing that you need to track most of all to know if you're going to have a healthy aging. And so what is that? That is literally how your body is using fuel and if it's using it efficiently and how is that affecting your body function. So in terms of, just to get concrete, like in terms of women as they get into their 40s, the things that they'll notice about their metabolism changing is they're no longer regulating blood glucose as well. They're no longer regulating fat as well. The way that fat is being used in the body also changes. So it's being put in areas that they hadn't expected and is doing things they hadn't expected. And at the same time, your lean mass is changing as well too. So your muscles are changing. And this all affects your metabolism because your muscles, of course, are the main place where you're burning a lot of your energy, a lot of your fuel. And then even further into what metabolism can mean, it can also mean just how well are you getting all the nutrients you need to have your body running. So that could actually implicate arteries, so how much blood flow is going to your organs, and how much your mitochondria are working efficiently as well, which I'll go into in a little bit.
So there's so much more. We always just compartmentalize energy is just what we feel, or the metabolism is just weight.
It's just weight. Yeah.
It is every single thing that's happening in the body. It's this communication, is the way I like to explain it. It's just this, the body needs energy to communicate cell to cell and function and think and breathe and create things and break down. As we're going through this transition, estrogen starts to decline. Well, it goes up, goes down, it fluctuates, and then it just kind of bottoms out until we have very almost barely detectable levels. So what specifically do you think is changing in the body? So maybe walk us through what's happening metabolically and why that fat seems to seem, some women say it just like shows up overnight and they literally feel like it's that. And where is this coming from?
Yeah, I know. I was wondering that too, and I started to notice that like my tummy was getting a little bigger because like I'm pretty thin anyway, but I'm like, that doesn't seem fair that it's suddenly accumulating. But it actually makes sense when you start to understand what's happening in your body. So, for instance, estrogen is really good at helping women take up fat from our blood and put it somewhere. And so before menopause, we're using most of that into our subcutaneous fat, so the fat that's closest to our skin, and especially around our thighs and our hips to give us that kind of womanly kind of curve, right? As you go into menopause and you have this estrogen dip, the body's still trying to make estrogen somehow. And as your ovaries start to make less and less, the body's like, where else can I make estrogen? And you can make a different form of estrogen called estrone. It's not as potent as estradiol, which is like the main estrogen in our body that is kind of doing all the usual things for us, like things I just mentioned. But it does work. So what is happening is the estrone that you can make can be made by fat instead of the ovaries. So if you're losing ovary function, you're now going to start to make estrone through fat. And so your body's now saying, oh, we should make more fat. It's a good way to get estrogen. But at the same time, estrogen normally is telling you not to put it on your belly. And the reason why is there's this special protein, the lipoprotein lipase, which is the protein that kind of tells you where you're going to put fat. It's low in your belly fat. So it's just not going to put belly fat onto you as much as onto your hips. As you lose estrogen, that lipase activity now starts to get heightened in your belly. And so now you're going to put a lot more fat in your belly. And in a way, you're kind of turning into more of a male kind of metabolic profile because men, as you know, accumulate a lot of belly fat. And that's because they don't have all this protective estrogen to help them out.
It's not just the belly in this, is it?
No, it's not.
But I think belly, but it's visceral fat, right? And that's the fat around the organs.
That's another good way of terming. Like, so visceral fat's like the, I would say, more scientific term for belly fat. And it's basically meaning fat that's accumulating around your organs. So it's kind of inside your abdomen. So for instance, subcutaneous fat, like on your belly, is something that you can kind of pinch off of your belly. The visceral fat is inside your abdomen. You can't really pinch it, but you can sort of see it protruding. So that's really what I'm talking about with belly fat. So thanks for explaining that better.
Yeah, well, now we just had the reverse. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't sure. Maybe I was wrong because we have the belly. I mean, there's belly fat that is just belly fat. It's subcutaneous tissue. But then we have the visceral fat, which is around the organs, which is the dangerous fat. And even when you're skinny, you can have this visceral fat, and it's no good because obviously as we're aging, we need our organs to function well. But if there's this big layer of fat around it, it sputters. It just can't do what it needs to do. So I really wanted to highlight that this is an important part of metabolism. It just kind of sucks that your body may go, wow, we need more estrogen. Let's make more fat. Like, duh.
I know. Yeah. And make it on your belly where it's now going to cause more inflammation. Visceral fat, that kind of inside belly fat has been shown to increase risk of cognitive issues, so dementia, cardiovascular disease. It's really a problematic fat. And so, as we lose estrogen and we're having, for instance, more of that blood glucose control, just getting more and more messy, like this is now also contributing to more belly fat as well too. So all that extra glucose in your blood is now going to get collected as fat into your belly fat. Yay. And then lastly, the other thing that's happening a lot during midlife is that we're super stressed out, right? So we have cortisol flowing through us constantly as we try to juggle our day, because I think, especially in your late 40s or early 40s too, I guess, there's so much going on. You've got like kids and career and your aging parents, maybe, and you're trying to deal with it. And the other thing that estrogen's doing is it's helping regulate cortisol. Wow. So, so once you lose estrogen, cortisol can have a lot more havoc on you, including putting more of that visceral fat on. So many different ways that the way that you're distributing fat is going to change during perimenopause. And I'm just particularly attuned to where the fat is going, because I just feel like that's the thing that feels like a little bit out of control. Like, why is this happening? Like, why is it not staying the same? And that really will actually change as you get older. A lot of people do put on the belly fat. You have twice as much belly fat, visceral fat, after menopause as you did before. That's just kind of on average for women. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. But we can do things about it.
We can do things about it. Yeah.
There are solutions. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's not all doom and gloom.
I follow all these women on Instagram with their looking amazing in their 70s and there's no belly fat, or there's a tiny bit. Like it exists. It's possible. But some of these women are actually turning to GLP-1s. These are these weight loss peptides or weight loss medications or appetite suppressants, or they're not eating enough, I guess, but they're losing the weight. So I would love to know your perspective as a scientist. Are these tools actually solving the problem, or are we just putting a Band-Aid on a bigger issue? And what is this doing to our mitochondria and metabolism?
Yeah, so I think GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic definitely have their place, and they've helped millions and millions, and people will call them a lifesaver, and I totally get why. So I'm happy for people to think about this as I have tried to lose weight in many ways, and this is the only thing that's really working. But I also feel like you have to understand this probably won't be forever. You need to change the way that you eat and the way that you're living your life while on the GLP-1s, because as we all have now heard, that as soon as you go off the GLP-1s, you are now going to gain a lot of that weight back because the food noise is back, or your appetite comes raging back. And at the same time, while you've lost all that weight, you've lost a lot of lean mass, so muscle, which is that energetically expensive part of you. And now it's going to be even more likely you're going to gain more weight because you've lost that muscle. So I'm fine with trying to lose weight on that, but at the same time, you need to figure out your diet. You need to have a lot more fiber. You need to make sure you're having the right nutrients. I was reading a study that people who are on GLP-1s are actually very micronutrient deficient. So for instance, vitamin D and potassium, and you need these types of nutrients, for instance, to keep your mitochondria running. And at the same time, I think for sure there's a lot of other things about your metabolism that get fixed by GLP-1s, and insulin resistance, I think, is like a really big one, that people see that their blood glucose goes back in control, and I think that's great. But you need to figure out your blood glucose after you're done with them. So that's the main thing. And I don't recommend people saying, oh, I'll start it and then I'll stop it and I'll seesaw, because that's just going to make your metabolism go even screwier. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then with the mitochondria, I'd imagine if you're losing muscle mass, there's loads of mitochondria in muscle, as I understand. And so if you're losing the muscle, you're probably also losing mitochondria, which are so important for all the functions that we just talked about.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And for sure, these mitochondria, especially in your muscle, are one of these kind of indicators of overall health. And once you start having more mitochondrial dysfunction or just less of them, it's hard to bring them back as easily.